Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel. My name is Lisa, and today we are going to be taking all of my old basketball t-shirts and turning them into a quilt. So if you want to see how I do that in my decision-making process, stick around. So I played basketball from like 3rd grade up into like club ball in college. And I love basketball. It's my first love and will always be my first love. And so obviously over the years I collected a ton of shirts. So today I want to take all of those shirts and turn them into a quilt. I've wanted to do this for a long time. I'm finally sitting down and doing it. So I've laid out all of my t-shirts and I've put them in different categories. I have shirts from middle school, high school, AAU, rec ball, random camps I went to, and I have shirts from playing basketball in college at the club level. I also had a bunch of lifeguarding t-shirts and volleyball shirts, but I decided that those were not right for this specific quilt. Now that I've collected all of the shirts I'm going to use, I'm going to start cutting them to size and thinking about how I want to organize them. There were just so many shirts, kind of crazy. So for the interfacing, I used SF-101, and the first thing I did is I sketched out 12 by 12 pieces. It fit most of the designs for the shirts, although there were a couple of shirts that I wanted to get all of the text, I wanted to see all of the teams or all of the locations. So I did end up making a few bigger ones, and then I took out a few pockets also, but for the most part I used 12 by 12 squares. So I drew them out and then I cut them all out, which took a particularly long time. I mean, it's like, I think I had 72 shirts, like a crazy amount of shirts. Once they were all cut out, I went ahead and ironed them onto the t-shirts, which actually was a little bit more challenging than I thought it would be. Obviously, the white shirts, I could see where the design was, and so I could get a pretty good idea of where I wanted it to be, but for the other ones, I basically ironed a square so that I knew kind of where I wanted to place the interfacing. So, like for a black shirt, what am I gonna do? So it worked out pretty well. A few of them are a little wonky, but for the most part, I think it turned out pretty well. Alright guys, I have finally finished putting all of the interfacing onto all of my t-shirts, so they are all ready to go, ready to be sewn, and the next step I did is I actually laid them out on the floor and I took a picture from overhead and I printed out those pictures and I cut them into pieces, and then I laid them out on my desk and I organized them how I want them to be in the finalized product. I thought it worked out pretty well. It was a little overwhelming because I have so many pieces and deciding on where to put them was a lot, but I think I landed on something I really like. And now all that is left to do is I have to take all of the pieces and basically get them ready to be sewn together, and then I'm gonna start sewing the front side of the quilt and then the back side. I've been calling it a quilt. I think it's gonna be more of a blanket, but either way, it's turning into such a cool project, so let's keep moving. My experience level for something like this was basically 0, but I just kind of tried to follow some logic and what I saw other people doing online. So for me, because I didn't have a perfectly, like all of the squares were going to match up perfectly on each panel, I thought the best way to go about doing it was to sew each of the panels together and then sew all the pieces in one panel and then sew the panels together, because I did have those pieces that were longer and shorter, but it worked out pretty well. I just had to match up the seams, and it was a little bit longer at the bottom in some places, but honestly not that bad for never having done this before. I did do a 5/8 seam allowance on each one because I thought it would be like the least, I didn't want to lose a whole lot of the shirts. It was really fun watching this come together, for the record. It was just so cool. Once I was done sewing both sides of the blanket, the next thing I did is I had to pin it all together. So I did put in a little bit of batting in the middle. And when I say batting, I mean like a really cheap blanket that I got for free. So I put that in the middle and I gave it like just enough weight because I didn't want to have like a super thick blanket. T-shirts are already pretty heavy, and then I had the SF-101 on the back of the t-shirts. So all I really needed was that thin blanket. Once I did have it all put together and I brought it over to the sewing machine, then it was just pretty much sewing along all of the seams.
This ain't no regular thing. I came for the ring, you know what I mean. I shoot my shot and it's clean. This for my city, yeah, this for my team. If you talking, it's how to be nice. With all of my life, you see my name in the lights. Better get right, I'm champion. The game is in trouble. I've been in my depth for the piece of the puzzle. I got it for real. Still keep me going. I wake up and hustle. You won't see me buckle. I've been in the field, man of the town. You been in your fields. I'm adjusting this crown. Call me your majesty. Either that or your tragedy. We shutting everything down. I've been hot like somebody put a candle on them. Off top, I don't really stand opponents. This mine. The moment is run out and start a bunch of pandemonium. More game, I got some. The skill is bar one. Y'all done. The game in the coffin. Referee screen rest.
For the record, quilting is not for the faint of heart in any way. What a massive project, so much work and so much basketball. I think about how I played hours and hours and hours of basketball in all of these shirts. I'm so happy with how it turned out, and on to the next project.
Up early morning, enough of the sleep in my life is a dream, but you wishing you